Hi everyone, Alisha here. Welcome back to another Wellness Wednesday episode. And today I have a really special video for you. I'm actually opening up and talking to you about my struggles and my story of how yoga has changed my life. This interview is actually what I did for my portion of my online retreat. It was a virtual yoga retreat that is live from May 19th through May 21st, 2015. So if you are listening to this during that date, you can still sign up and listen to the other interviews that I did with 14 other experts for free. Or if it's past that date and you're listening and you're interested in the other interviews and learning from other people after you listen to this, you are certainly welcome to purchase the bundle and have lifetime access to all of those interviews for just $27. So, yes, enjoy my story, and yeah, that's about it. Enjoy. I will see you next week. Love to you all. Namaste. Hi, and welcome everyone. I'm Alisha Leytem, your certified wellness coach, yoga teacher, and the host of the virtual yoga retreat, where you will experience exactly how a holistic approach to yoga is your answer to transforming everything about you, leading you to a calmer, happier, and more fulfilling life than you could possibly imagine. Thank you so much for showing up today, and today is just me. I am going to talk to you about my story, and I'm going to share with you more specifically about how yoga helped me overcome adversity and discover who I am at the core of my being. Okay, and how it ultimately helped me to thrive physically, mentally, and emotionally, and really uncover what it means to truly be happy and healthy. So I'm really excited to dive in and share my story with you because I think a lot of you will be able to relate to me. So, yoga initially came into my life at a time when I was really struggling. I had just moved to a new state in Ohio, and I'm from Iowa. Okay, so I just moved 10 hours away from home, and I had gotten married to my husband 3 weeks before we moved out here. Okay, and so when we got here, my husband had a job, which is why we moved in the first place, and the plan was for me to search when I got here. And I was fresh out of grad school. I'd just done a year of AmeriCorps volunteer service, and I was ready for my first job. Well, it was a long process of unemployment, okay? About 6 months, actually. And so I was really, really struggling. I just feeling like really strange because I was really happy and so in love, after I just gotten married. But yet I was still feeling like really lost with what my purpose was, who I'm really supposed to be as Alisha. And so to pass the time in between the million, you know, um, job applications, I was working out a lot, and I was working out at the local YMCA. So one day, I decided, okay, I'm just going to take every class on this list because why not? I'm going to, just see what it's all about and try it. And so I saw that yoga was on there, and I remembered that my college roommate had given me this Nike like pink yoga mat that was stored in the basement somewhere. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll grab that, I'll take it. That'll be something to pass the day. That was, what I was going through. So I remember going that day, and I had never ever felt this sense of peace and calm and like feeling like super good in my body all at the same time in my entire life. It was the most amazing feeling ever. And the second that that class was over, I was like, wow, I'm going to be coming back every single time. So that's what I did. I ended up scheduling in every single yoga class that the Y had to offer into my days. No matter what I was doing, I would schedule it in. And at the time, there were like, 4 a week that I could go to, or that they had to offer at the gym. But that's what I went to, and so I just dove into it head first. And I then started to like dabble into yoga classes that were online as well. So as a result of going to these classes more and more, I just slowly started to feel much more confident and just happier in my day to day. And really, by doing nothing differently but going to yoga class, I wasn't doing anything out of the norm, anything different from before, besides just showing up and going to the classes. So I could already sense this like feeling of just a little bit more confidence. Definitely not a lot at that moment. I mean, it was only a few months into my yoga practice, but I could definitely tell, and I was feeling better. And it was the only thing that made me happy at the time, besides my husband. Okay, let's let's throw that out there. But he was working all day, and so like my favorite and one of the best things that I had to look forward to throughout the week was, oh, I get to go to class. I get to go to class. Like, it was just my favorite thing. So fell in love, head over heels, and one day I just totally surprised myself, and I said out loud, to my husband, actually, I was like, yeah, I'm going to teach yoga someday. And I remember catching myself. I'm like, where did that come from? I'd never thought about it before. I never really was just sitting down thinking like, what do I want to do? Yeah, I think someday I'll do that. It just seriously came out of my mouth. I'm like, I'm going to teach yoga someday. And then I said, it's just a matter of when. Okay? Kind of gives me a little chills thinking about it. And so at that moment, I realized like, oh, yeah, this is the path I'm going to take at some point in my life. But it just seemed like so far away of when we would ever have the money for me to go and get the teacher training done, right? So I ended up getting a job after about 6 months, and luckily throughout that really low point of unemployment, I had yoga to keep me above water. And then I got a job as it was this temp job that they didn't know if they were going to be able to continue to have someone in it after a certain amount of time or not. Well, they decided they weren't going to have enough money for it, and so they had to let me go. And I had then, within a few weeks, gotten another job, right? And about 4 months into that one, that company was a startup company, and they went under. They went under in a few months. So what I'm saying is, I basically got let go from 2 jobs, 2 different situations, but nevertheless 2 jobs within the span of 6 months, right after 6 months of unemployment. So it was one really hard year. There was a lot that I had to go through with that. But right around the time that I was let go from the second job, I decided for some reason that I really wanted to go and see what a studio was all about. And we still didn't really have a lot of money because I, was unemployed and we were just living on one person's income. But I said, Michael, my husband, I said, I have to do this. I don't care what, I have to go to the studio, otherwise I'm going to lose my mind. It's the only thing that is there for me. To help keep me sane. Not there for me, but to help keep me sane. Okay? And so I went, and a week later, they announced that they were going to be opening up their first yoga teacher training program. I kid you not, a week later. And a week after that, I signed up, and here I am 1 year later. It's only been 1 year. Okay, think about that for a moment. That is crazy. In that year, since I've gone there, my whole entire life has changed. I got certified as a wellness coach. I finished my yoga teacher training. I started my own business. I am so much happier than I ever thought was possible in such a short amount of time, right? And I'm not there or arrived. I don't think that there's ever this moment where you're like, oh, I totally arrived. This is it, right? But I am so much in a better place than I was before, right? And I just, I think back to that moment when I was let go from the second job. And if it weren't for yoga at that time, I don't even want to think about what I would have done or how I would have dealt with it. Yoga is my way of dealing with it, like going to the classes and just helping me find that calm and feeling better in my body, and like because I actually truly enjoyed it, just made me feel so much better. And it really did help me um, overcome, right? So I'd like to really sum up the three biggest lessons that yoga has taught me in my life. So, the first really big lesson, and these are in no particular order because they're all very, very important lessons that have helped me overcome a lot of adversity. But the first one is this idea of surrender. Okay? And I'm sure you've heard your yoga teacher say before, just surrender to the moment, surrender to your forward fold, just let it go. And that's what yoga has taught me in my life, is this idea of surrendering to the moment, but also in my yoga practice, learning how to surrender to the flow of my body in each pose. And not only to the flow of it, but also to love where I am in practicing that pose at that exact moment without judging myself for not being where I want to be or not being where other people are around me. So, surrendering, letting it go, and remembering that where I am right now is exactly where I need to be. And you can use that for yourself, right? I want you to take these lessons for you too. Like, where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. And usually that's just not something that we want to hear when we're going through a rough time, but it's so true. And you can look at that in my own journey, with by the second time that I got let go, or even the first time, like, hey, surrender to this moment, right? Love where you are in this journey of your life right now. And just remember where you are right now is exactly where you need to be, even though, hey, that's not what I want to hear right now because I just got let go, right? I'm going through a really hard time, but being able to practice that with my body on the mat has been tremendously helpful. So, huge one, surrender. The second biggest lesson for me has been learning how to drop comparison. And I remember when I first started practicing yoga, I would just compare myself to the teacher and people around me. And I remember, like, oh my gosh, they probably know that I'm unemployed because I'm here in the middle of the day and I'm just such a loser who doesn't have a job, and just talking bad things to myself, making myself feel even worse, which maybe you have experiences before or are experiencing it. And it's so easy to look at all the bad things going on in your life and then comparing yourself to how others are feeling. But yoga has taught me that, hey, yoga is not a competition, and neither is life. Life is not a competition, it's your life, right? And when you compare, comparison is the thief of your joy, it's the thief of your happiness. So not comparing myself to others in the room, right? Or where others are on their yoga journey, or where they are in that pose and I'm not there. By letting that go and dropping that comparison, kind of bringing in that first lesson of surrendering and letting it go into this, has allowed me to trust myself more. And it's allowed me to let that go. And when I let go of looking what's going on around me and judging myself around me, I'm able to come in to myself and connect to myself more. And the more that I was able to connect to me and like how I felt, the happier I was. And the more I could connect was by practicing more. So the more that I practiced, the more connected that I felt. And I would notice if I weren't or didn't practice for a few days, or a week, or I missed it or whatever, I could tell a huge difference. And of course I can now. Now, I practice every day and I can tell a difference if I don't practice a little bit every single day, because I lose that connection. And so by practicing it allows me to drop that comparison. And ultimately, by dropping that comparison, I'm able to find more inner peace, right? Which is the same as I was talking about, like happiness. It helps me find more inner peace. And by accepting this journey, of where I was then, where I am now, just this whole journey of life, and every time you go to the mat, you can accept where you are in that moment, and you can feel at peace no matter what life throws your way. And that's what a huge, humongous lesson that I'm so grateful that yoga has helped me overcome the hard times in my life so far. And I know that it will continue to be there for me as I go through other hard times, because it's life, right? Where you have to ride the ups and downs and the waves. And I feel so grateful that yoga can be that tool to help me navigate those waves even more, and to stay connected even if things around me get crazy. So the third really big lesson for me has been that yoga has shown me to look at life the way that it is. Okay, now let me explain this for a moment. So yoga is not just about being able to put your body into a certain pose. It's about a state of mind, right? So your perception determines the kind of life that you see and that you experience. And yoga's taught me that my thoughts can determine how I want to perceive this experience that I'm having right now. So it's kind of like I can choose. It's the same concept as I can choose to look at the glass half empty or half full. And I didn't even realize that over the years that by practicing yoga, I have literally been practicing positive thinking in my mind. And that's kind of like I said, being able to look at the glass half full. Positive thinking. And how does yoga help you practice that? Because you talk to yourself in your yoga practice, especially when you first start practicing. Eventually, you want to be able to calm that mind and not shut it off, but drop the chitter chatter, stop the talking, so that you can just breathe and connect even more. But especially when you're first practicing, your mind's racing. And the more you do it, the more you practice, the more that you are able to say nicer words and thoughts and sentences to yourself, instead of telling myself that I can't get into a certain pose, or everyone's looking at me if I fall out of crow or whatever. I was able to encourage myself, hey, you've been doing this for a while. I think that you could try to practice the crow today. I think you could try, see what happens. Or not putting myself down if I didn't get a certain pose, or not putting myself down if I fall out of a tree pose. Instead, before, when I first started, oh, I can't believe you just fell out, that's so embarrassing. But over time, I realized that If I did fall out, I would be like, oh, that's okay. No one's like, it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter what's going on around me. I'm just going to come right back into it. You see the difference? So I was truly able to practice thinking how I wanted to think. And this is like so essential to helping me through adversity, because you can literally take this concept off of the mat into your life, right? You can practice those positive thoughts, and you can practice thinking how you want to think. And you can remember that you can make it harder for yourself by saying worse things to yourself, or you can say nice things to yourself. And either way, it's the same not experience, but it's the same thing that's happening, and you can create the experience that you want to have by having either really negative thoughts to yourself or more positive ones. So it can be an easier journey, or it can be harder, and it's up to you to decide. Like, think about, every time you step on the mat and you're about to take a class or practice, like that's a journey in that moment. And you can make it really hard on yourself by putting yourself down the whole time, or you can do the exact same amount of poses and be nice to yourself and encouraging to yourself, and it would make it so much easier and so much more enjoyable. So yeah, those are the 3 humongous lessons that yoga has taught me over the years, and ultimately, it's helped me just completely thrive in my whole life, and it's helped me realize that, hey, living a healthy lifestyle is more than just moving my body and eating right. I mean, that's essential, but you have to have the mental and emotional capacity and strength to, in addition to everything else. All of these lessons are really showing you how I was able to live my yoga. And in this regard of seeing life the way that it is, being able to have this state of mind, right? I did a lot of other rituals at home throughout this time that I credit a lot to help me get through those times, and not just get through it, but really thrive. And what these rituals were my morning and my nighttime routine. And specifically in those 2, really focusing on gratitude and focusing on the things that I did have instead of what I was lacking, I was able to really create much more abundance. The first example that comes to mind is when I wanted to go to the yoga studio for the first time, but, funds were tight. Instead of looking at everything that we didn't have and why I shouldn't go to the yoga studio and pay money, we shifted our perception and said, okay, well, this is extremely important, so what do we have to make this happen? And my gratitude practice really contributed to this shift in my thoughts, and helped me get through a lot. And it helped me so much, this in addition to like a few other rituals that I did, especially at night, that really helped me overall. And so I put together a PDF of just a really detailed plan of what I did and how you can do it too. So I'd really love to offer this to you. You can just simply click on the link, get it yourself, and show you my exact nighttime routine that ultimately helped me shift those thoughts and my reality and my experience, and find that glass half full mentality and practice it, because this is something that doesn't just happen overnight, just like yoga. Like, you can't just start and then you got it, or a certain pose, right? You have to practice, and it takes time. And this is one of those practices as well. The more you practice gratitude, the more that you will receive from it. So very similar to, and same thing, live your yoga off the mat by practicing yoga more, and the more that you put into it, the more that you get out of it. And so really combining those two, and it's important to continue to practice yoga in addition to this gratitude, because it teaches you how to connect more back to yourself. Like I mentioned before a little bit earlier, the more connected that you can feel to you, the easier of a process it is for you to connect to the gratitude list, right? So it's all a combination of everything. So I really hope that you enjoy it and try it out, and feel free to ask me any questions about it that you have. I will gladly answer any questions you have. You can email me, aliciasappetite@gmail.com, and stay connected with me. You can find me at any social media. Find me on Facebook, aliciasappetite.com. Find me on Instagram. I'm just starting to get a little bit more into Instagram. So I'd love it if you would follow me and tell me what you want to see. Post some more pictures on there. And on Twitter. And I'm just really grateful that you showed up today. And, the fact that you even came to listen to this particular recording of me talking about how yoga has helped me discover who I am shows me that you are willing and open to doing that for yourself too. And if this is ever something that you would want to talk to about with me and just kind of work through it, I would love to offer you a 30-minute free coaching call with me, and we can just talk through it and see what another next step might be that could work really well for you. So yeah, feel free to email me, and you can always find more information about that on my website as well. I didn't mention that, kind of funny. aliciasappetite.com. So I really want to be able to help you, and if this conversation really vibed with you today, I think that we would totally vibe together and would work really well together, and I'd love nothing more than to help you overcome whatever it is that you're struggling with, and how you can use yoga and the power of positive thinking into your life, because that's what helped me. I've been there. I know what it feels like, right? And it is possible. Even though it feels like so far away, it is possible. So good. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you a million times over. Thanks for listening. Thanks for learning. And thanks for doing something for yourself. Again, this is Alisha. I'm Alisha. I'm your wellness coach, and I'm your yoga teacher. I'm here to empower you to feel amazing, get healthy, and love your life. I will talk to you again super soon. Can't wait. Namaste, everyone.